Yo, what's going on guys? HyperX here. Welcome back to another video for Cyberpunk 2077. In this one, I want to go over 7 things that I wish I knew when I started the game, or kind of just 7 things that you might want to consider when starting the game. Either way, just some handy tips that are completely spoiler free, but just things you might want to keep in mind whilst progressing through the game. So if you guys do enjoy this, you do find it helpful, then a like would be super appreciated. Again, if you guys are excited for Cyberpunk, make sure you keep it locked because we've got plenty of stuff coming your way. If there's anything particular you want to know more about, let us know in the comments down below. We'll try and help you out. But either way, let's get started. The very first thing I want to talk about is understanding skills and progression. Now, this is not going to be me explaining how attributes and skills work because I'm pretty sure that much you can work out yourself. It's not difficult. Basically, attributes are your main character stats. They influence your build, and your perk points are what you put into these skill trees to unlock different things that can enhance your build. Pretty standard stuff, but what I do want to emphasize here is just how the progression works within the attributes, because this is a little bit confusing and also rather important if you want to ensure you're getting the most out of your progression. Basically, when you dive into a tree, it doesn't matter what it is. I spent a lot of time speccing into body, so we'll jump in there for the time being, but it really doesn't matter whichever one it is, however you want to play your character, whether you want to be a net runner, whether you want to be a gunner, whether you want to be a melee focused character, whatever it is, when you jump into the skill tree, you will see that obviously you have your perk tree in front of you. Whenever you level up, typically you will get an attribute point and a perk point. Each of the attributes, the core ones, can go up to a maximum of level 20, and as you start spending points in that, this tree will expand and you'll basically have the ability to spend more points in here and unlock the perks that are further on the outside of the tree. However, you will notice at the very bottom of the tree there is something that is not unlocked, and this only unlocks when you are level 20 in that chosen style. So for example, Street Brawler, you can see right now I'm level 10. And you might well think, oh, you know, if I spend my attribute points in that particular attribute, then once I get to level 20, that means level 20. But it doesn't. These are 2 different things. The level of the actual page you're looking at, so for me, the level of Street Brawler, is tied specifically to actually using that playstyle, which again makes sense. I mean, obviously, if you want to be a Street Brawler, you're going to be brawling, you're going to be punching people, using melee weapons, using blunt weapons. So effectively, if you want to play a chosen way, you really want to make sure that whatever you're doing as you're playing throughout the game, you are using that chosen playstyle. Now, yes, obviously early on you might be forced to switch. Say, for example, you really like assault rifles, but occasionally you pick up a shotgun. You know, there's nothing to say you can't use that. But if you do want to be progressing down this tree to the point where you can unlock that final skill, you actually have to use the ability, the playstyle, the weapon type that corresponds to that particular page. So in Street Brawler, I simply need to go around and melee things, punch people, use blunt weapons, that kind of thing. If you happen to be in Annihilation, which focuses on, you know, machine guns and shotguns, you want to be using those kind of weapons. If you want to be a net runner and you want to do a lot of stuff when it comes to hacking, you want to make sure that you are hacking all the time, you know, as much as you possibly can. And similarly, if you want to expand the engineering side of things and do crafting, you want to be doing a lot of crafting. So long story short, there's basically 3 tiers to this. You spend your attribute points to improve your character stats, you spend your perk points to unlock nodes in the tree, and you then use that given playstyle to further level that up so that you can get all the available perks. Next up, moving on from there to number 2, quick tip, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do this anyway if you're playing RPGs, but loot absolutely everything, because this is, at least early on, going to be one of your easiest ways to make money. Money is something you're going to need a fair amount of in Cyberpunk when you have people hitting you up asking you if you want to buy cars, when you want to buy expensive cyberware, when you want to buy clothing and guns. You're going to be out of money a lot of the time. But early on, looting absolutely everything is a surefire way to not only find cool items, but more importantly, just have a quick and easy way to make some money. You can then go over to the drop-off stations located all around the map, and you can sell your junk. Admittedly, the junk isn't really going to kind of give you too much, but you can also sell guns. You're going to be getting guns all the time. Every time you kill people, every time there's encounters, you'll be picking up more guns than you could ever need. Most of them aren't really going to be that exciting to you. They'll be common, uncommon, that kind of thing, but looting everything as you go might be a little bit daunting because honestly there's loot absolutely everywhere, but it is a surefire way to keep yourself stocked up. On that note, number 3, there are 2 things I highly recommend you get pretty early on in the game, because if you do go around looting everything, you are very frequently going to be hitting max carrying capacity, and in doing so, that's going to make you walk incredibly slowly. 2 very easy things you can do to at least give you more storage space is to buy the Titanium Bones cyberware implant. This is pretty cheap early on, you won't need a lot of money for this one, and this basically increases your carrying capacity by 20%. And if you then go into the body tree and you spend 1 point in the athletics section on the skill, or the perk should I say, called Pack Mule, this also increases your carrying capacity by 60. So even if you don't want to heavily invest in body, putting 1 point in this stat is just a really good way to get some more free storage. Moving on from there to number 4, make multiple saves. Again, if you guys play a lot of RPGs, you're probably pretty used to this by now, but it's especially important in Cyberpunk because this is a game that gives you a lot of player choice. There'll be plenty of times where you'll be asked to make decisions and you might be like, is this the right thing? Do I really want to say this? But more importantly, it also ties into holding on to kind of items you get, because when you're playing Cyberpunk, if you die, you go back to your previous save, whether that be an autosave or your last manual save. Generally speaking, the autosave system is pretty good in this game, but there are the odd times when it takes you back a little bit further than you'd like. But more importantly, if you happen to be going through somewhere and you get some cool loot and you die, and you then go and respawn from your last save point, you then don't have that loot. And given that loot drops can be random, there's no guarantee that you'll get that same item again. An example of this was early on when I was fighting some of the animals. I went through and I got a hammer to drop, which was great for my blunt build, only I then died, went back to my save file, and then upon going through again, killing that same enemy, they did not drop that weapon. I have of course since gone back and then got that item, but the point is, if you find something you like, whether you get somewhere and you feel like there's a big decision coming up, if you get a cool item, a cool like rare drop, a piece of clothing you like, basically save all the damn time. Next up, in at number 5, don't forget to claim your free GOG items. Remember, you don't have to have purchased Cyberpunk on the GOG store, which of course is CD Projekt Red's own store, but if you do want to get some of those cool, sweet items like the Witcher jacket or the sword, you want to get that plushie for your apartment, that kind of thing, all you need to do is link your account to a GOG account. If you have one already, you can link the existing account. If you don't, you can create one using their GOG Connects platform, and in doing so, you will then be rewarded with some cool Witcher items, so you can then rock them in the game. They're not exactly high level, there'll be things you can kind of rock early on, but more so just from a cosmetic point of view, it's just kind of cool to roll around in that spiked jacket. After that, in number 6, make sure you do the side jobs for the characters that you really care about. Of course, this is a game where there are plenty of things to do. You have the main story missions, you have the side quests, you have side gigs, you have cars to buy, you even have like NCPD things to chase down police kind of stuff. There's plenty of stuff to keep you busy. But when you find a character that you particularly like and they have side jobs, I highly recommend doing those as you progress, because what you'll find is that a lot of people, like the side jobs in this game, are almost like a portion of the main story. Don't just see them as like one and done quick side missions that you're like, oh, I'll go and do that later. Sometimes they are branching and they go on to really flesh out the character and give you a really cool story around them. And what you'll often find is when doing those side missions, upon completing one, it'll then go quiet for a bit. So it sort of mirrors your natural progression. You do them, you run off and go and do other stuff, and later on they'll call you again, and you will then gradually progress with that character throughout the story. And for those of you guys looking for the romance options, that's also where some of them come in. And then finally, in at number 7, keep your iconic weapons. As you're playing throughout the game, even at the lower rarities, you will still get iconic items. You can denote them by this sort of typical circuit board background. Also, if you go to dismantle them, you'll get a little warning before doing so. Keeping these is kind of important because obviously in doing so, you get the crafting recipe for them, but you can also upgrade them. I mean, you can upgrade pretty much anything, but if you do find a weapon early on that you particularly like, because iconic weapons typically have their own unique behaviors, you can upgrade them to bring them with you. Depending on the rarity you find does of course limit how much you can upgrade it, but either way, if you are in a position where maybe you're in between items and you haven't quite decided what you want next, then upgrading these as you go at least kind of sort of keeps them relevant for a bit longer. Anyway, for the time being, those are just a few things that I thought might kind of help you guys out as you're playing throughout the game, just a few things you might want to keep in mind. Either way, thanks very much for watching, and of course keep it locked for plenty more. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, you can join the HyperX Gaming Discord. We've got an awesome community over there with so many different channels for you to chat loads of different topics and different games. I'm in there, the team's in there if you guys want to chat with us, find people to play with. It's just in general a great place to be. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads.